Welcome to Staying Sweet, the podcast. Tune into my weekly podcast to hear me, Alice Bradley, delve deeper into building your brand and enjoying a luxury lifestyle. All while staying sweet, of course. Whether you're looking to level up in business, start something of your own, or balance a more exciting, fulfilling, and healthier lifestyle, each episode will be created especially to inspire and encourage your own success, so you can really have it all. Plus, don't miss out on the Staying Sweet specials, a series of exclusive interviews and conversations with Alice Bradley's network of inspiring entrepreneurs and brand owners. Always protect your sweetness, your light is not a weakness. Don't forget, there are new episodes every Monday. For daily content, you can check out my Instagram and you can follow me at alicelucybradley. Stay sweet! Guys, so welcome to episode 2 of the podcast. I'm so glad that you are here and you're tuning in regardless of when you've decided to check out this podcast. Maybe it's Monday morning and you're here right on time, or maybe you've just set some time apart from your day. Maybe you're on a hot girl walk, or you're just getting some fresh air. Whatever you are doing, I'm so glad you're here and you're choosing this podcast to listen to. So I wanted to start this week's podcast off with some updates from me, some lessons and some things that I've been thinking about over the past week. I'll be honest, it's not been an easy week, guys. It's been very tough emotionally, and I've actually taken some time off social media just to refocus myself and get myself feeling better mentally. I think there's no point being present on a social media platform if your head is not in it and your mind is not in it. I just think Instagram at the moment and Twitter and social media in general has just been very vibrationally low. I think we're really, really drained and we are just taking it out on each other. So for me, I've borne the brunt of some of it actually this past week. I'm not going to delve specifically into details, but I can just tell people are hurting and wanting to take out frustration and anger from other external issues and just use it to fuel the anger on someone, have someone to blame. If it's not a social media influencer, it's somebody else in the public eye or on a public platform. I guess my advice at the moment to anybody who is struggling mentally or feeling angry or frustrated or not where they want to be in life right now, please do not take it out on people in the public eye. I mean, it's just so tough, and I wouldn't even class myself as being a public figure, but just having a public profile. I guess it comes under that umbrella. You've got to expect that not everyone is going to love you, and that's okay. But I just think you don't know what other people are going through behind closed doors and why people might be quiet on certain days or not feeling up to replying to messages. That's why I find I'm never annoyed or frustrated at any friends or family members who decide not to message or text me. I know how hard society feels at the moment, and we don't really feel up to talking. That's okay as well. Yeah, I just feel like in light of how negative and toxic Instagram and social media is at the moment, I've had to take that step back, and a lot of things have been sort of going on behind the scenes, and you don't really know what someone is experiencing or what they might be navigating at that time. Be kind and gracious as often as you can. There is so much division in the world at the moment for all manner of reasons, and I've just found I can't enjoy certain platforms for very long without finding or coming across something, nasty or hateful. And I really hope that despite things not always being 100% great in our lives, we shouldn't take it out on individuals that we don't know or that we think deserve to bear the brunt of how we're feeling. I think regardless of the person, whether you like them or not, just take the time to just be kind and courteous. And if you can't do that, step away and don't use up your energy to be negative. And that's just really what I've learned this past week. Put your emotions into something that is going to make you feel so much better. And I think that's why this past week has just been me in the gym, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I haven't really done much this week aside from get this podcast ready for launch and focus on my fitness and working out. That's where I've been able to put a lot of my emotion and feeling, which has been great. So I really recommend, if you are feeling, low vibrational, that you take your energy out on something more positive. And I think that's really a great stepping stone into what this podcast is about. I'm going to be talking about setting goals in 2022 and what the first few weeks of January can bring people. It can bring a lot of fear and anxiety. Some of us feel super motivated and we can get the ground running, and it's a positive time. But sometimes the last thing we want to see is somebody else's year, going off to a flying start and us feeling, left in the dust. So I think that's what this podcast is going to touch on. And I felt really off balance this week and the weight of the world on my shoulders. So for me, I just had to switch it off, turn off the social media and step away. And it's been really, really great. And I feel in a really great mindset today when I'm recording this. I guess a positive really of switching off social media this past week has been my productivity reset and just actually factoring in time and focus to tasks that I've been putting off. And it's taken me a week to get my head in the right frame of mind to tackle those silly tasks that I've been putting off. But now that I have had a few days just to mull in my thoughts and reflect and just be quiet and low key, it's been really, really beneficial to my mental health. So I feel ready to go and in a better headspace to tackle the next few weeks. I've got a few busy weeks coming, and it can be quite hard to get back into the flow in January. So please give yourself the benefit of the doubt that your January doesn't have to be this groundbreaking success. You don't have to achieve everything that you've put on your vision board or on your goals list in that first 4 weeks. It's okay to just be getting yourself back on track, or maybe figuring out what your routine is going to be or what you want to focus on for the next, year. So take that step back. One of the methods that I've recently come across and I've been kind of experimenting with is the reflect, set and go method. Now, it's quite straightforward. It kind of gives you clues as to where you're going to go with this kind of journal prompt, or maybe you just want to think about it in your own head. That's fine. But this idea that we just reflect on the things that have been going on in our year. Maybe we look back physically at the whole year past and look at 2021. We're reflective and we're thinking about things that we did well, things that we might want to change, any goals that kind of came out of nowhere but actually were blessings in disguise, any sudden things in your life, successes, small wins, big wins. Reflection, I think, is really key to seeing, one, how far you've come, and two, where you want to map out, your next year ahead. So reflect, tick, set. That to me is setting the goal, setting the intention, thinking about the themes that revolve around those goals, and then go, which is literally just starting. Let's take an example here. Reflect. I'm going to think about last year. What was I really hoping to achieve? I wanted to have a really big social media presence, and I thought, if I focus 100% on this, it's going to grow really fast and I'm going to see instant numbers. Now, upon reflection, I've realized numbers do not equate to success, and they don't equate to your effort either. You could be putting in 100% and, not be getting crazy audience numbers or great insights, but that does not mean you should give up. And I think from reflection, I've seen that there is no harm in trying something and being consistent with it, because it will and can pay off. It might just not pay off straight away. So that's the reflection. The setting of the goal is, for me, continue with YouTube, continue with my social media. Don't just give it up because it's not been an instant success. But maybe try some new avenues. So a goal that I've set for myself is start this podcast. Get your audience to see who you are from a different perspective, because one thing that I found is someone I follow on Instagram can be and come across totally different on YouTube, but also come across totally different on TikTok or on a podcast. So there are different avenues to understanding a person, and perhaps a podcast is going to be the way that my audience sees me and values me, and maybe that is where I'm going to see the most traction. So that is the goal that I've set for myself: launch a podcast, try a new avenue, get my audience to see a different element of myself, and then go is what I'm doing here right now. I have decided to give it a go, and I am recording this podcast. I think, yes, it is good to sit and reflect on your past year, but not dwell too much on things that you can't change or how it went. You just have to see the lessons that you've learned and actually evolve from that, rather than, getting yourself in a negative headspace about things. And that's what I've really tried to do of this past week, and just think, I can't really change how X, Y, and Z has gone. I can only control how I react to it. And that has been my saving grace. So take that advice through, how you goal set for this year, and please don't feel like you're not good enough or like you haven't achieved enough. Everyone's at their own different pace in life. I'll be honest, there's things that I've really, hope for myself in the future, and some of them are super big goals. But around this time of year, lots of people tick certain milestones off in their life, and it can just feel like every time you open social media, there's something out there that is just a slap in the face and just tells you, oh, well, I have this thing and you don't. But at the end of the day, that is that person's journey, not your journey. And it's not to say that it's not going to happen to you. It's just your different avenue that you need to pursue first. Everyone is pursuing life differently. I just think social media can be this echo chamber of, look what I have, look what my life is, and everybody's guilty of it. I think I've done it many a time, and I'm not even going to sit here and say, oh, well, I don't do that. I don't think we can sit there and, say that we don't share things to make ourselves feel better. I think that's what the platform essentially perpetuates. So as long as we look at what we've achieved and not compare and be comparative, we can have a positive focus on the year ahead and not worry too much about what we haven't done. So with the need to kind of snap out of the sad funk that was this first week of January, which I really didn't want, guys. I wanted it to be amazing. I had just a clear vision of 2022, and I've seen a few things astrologically that are kind of predicted and projected for me in this year, and not to rely solely on that, but I've seen some themes that are kind of arising this year for me in my chart, and I was quite excited and thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be quite a good year, I think, based on that. But you've also got to weigh in other things going on in the world, and life isn't going to be perfect 24/7, and you can start a year out and think, oh God, it's already been awful. I've already had this happen to me, or I've already experienced this, or fallen out with this person, or gone through a breakup in my first week of the year. But that's not to say that by the end of the year you're not going to look back and go, this was the best year of my life. Please don't write off a year in January. Don't write off the year in February, March, April. Just take each month as a fresh start, and then you can look back. When it gets to, the last week of December, then you can really assess what kind of year you've had. But until you've gone through it and you've learnt the lessons and you've moved on and gone through the healing process that is time really does heal things. With the need to kind of snap out of that sad funk, I knew I needed to take some time for me, step away publicly, and just think about different areas of my life that I wanted to work on, and take that time off. And I'm allowed to do that, and I feel all the better for it. Goal setting doesn't need to be a public thing. I'm going to say it again. Goal setting does not need to be made public. You can if you want to, and it's ironic because I've shared lots of things about goals and manifestation and how I do vision boards on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, but there is no obligation to share your goals publicly. It's not something you have to do, it's not homework. You also don't need to look at somebody else's vision board and compare yours if that's what you're doing. I've seen a lot of creators share their vision boards, which personally I wouldn't do, just because of a few things. One being it encourages that comparison. Also as well, another thing, number 2, is people can offset a vibration. Even if they don't mean to or intend to, they can offset a vibration that comes from a more negative place, like jealousy, envy, or maybe they literally don't like you and they don't want you to have those things. So they set a vibrational intention. And I just don't think that's very good for someone who is, wanting to start the year off or have this positive thing. I think vision boards are very, very personal, and you might look at someone's vision board and think, crikey, I don't want any of those things. Gosh, why would that person want that? Or you might be thinking, oh my God, they've got such big goals. Like, my goals are tiny. I think putting your goals too publicly can be detrimental, but that's just my personal opinion. But I do think there is something positive in sharing that you're, goal setting or thinking about your goals for the year. I think people have just gone a bit crazy for it this year, and it's just a bit of a trend thing. It's a trend on TikTok, and I was deliberating whether to share something on it. I might still do something and just kind of wait for all the new year, new me things to kind of simmer down. I think we've been thrust it very quickly as soon as we've hit January, and I think people are just overwhelmed with that type of content. And that's not to say that it's not a positive thing. I think goal setting is really lovely, and I think vision boards are really, really great tools for attracting and achieving and ticking off goals. I just think for some individuals it can be really, really overwhelming, or maybe we just don't have the motivation to create a vision board. Whatever you want to do is your choice. If you want to share your goals with your friends and family, then by all means do that. But just remember that everyone is going to offer a vibration off of what you're telling them or showing them, even if they don't mean it. They might even just say a comment in passing, but it sticks in your brain. So just focus on you, focus on what you want to achieve, and no goal is too big or too small. Another thing as well is, if you are having that discussion and you're catching up with a friend over coffee, or you're going for a walk with someone, don't forget that some people might not want to be open with you about their goals, and that is okay as well. That doesn't mean someone doesn't trust you. It doesn't mean that they're keeping secrets from you. Maybe they're just in that headspace of, I want to keep that to myself and see where, that goal takes me, and what happens out of it. These changes, these habits and hopes can be really personal to someone, and meaningful for the individual. So please don't take it to heart if a friend decides not to share something with you. That moves me on to my next topic, really, which is how to evaluate your last year. Things that I would do myself, things that I have been doing the past week, and I'll be doing ongoing for January. I'm not trying to rush looking back at my past year. It's a whole year's worth of lessons and experiences and all sorts of things. So to throw it into like an afternoon or a day is just ridiculous. These things take time. We might actually think back to something and go, gosh, I forgot that happened. And, it might be mid-June and you'll remember something that you've learned. So it takes time to really evaluate your goals. Look at what went well in the last year. I mean, that's the easiest place to start. You could sit down with a notebook. I personally love a good notebook for my intentions and my goals. One thing actually that I really love to do is separate my positive goals and my affirmations and my exciting things, and I move that into one journal, and then I have a diary, which is where I put all my thoughts and emotions. It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, everything's going in there, and that just enables me to know when I pick that up, if I flick through it, if I find something or read something sad or negative or angry or whatever, envious, whatever, I know it's in there, and I'm not unexpectedly reading it, you know, when I'm on a high vibe. I've suddenly read something that happened, you know, 6 months ago, and I'm thinking, oh, I forgot that happened. I've really learned that the hard way. Separate your goals and positive things from your things that actually have happened in your life. That's really helped me personally. So yeah, let's take this positive journal, this positive space. Maybe it's a big piece of A3 paper and you want to see it visually, so you can be reminded of it every day. Look back at what went well from the last year and think about what unexpected successes you took on. So for me, this is a really nice one because there's things that I want to do and I haven't done, and I'm hard on myself. I think, oh gosh, I really didn't achieve that thing, but actually X, Y and Z happened, so that's actually a big achievement because I did these things, and okay, they weren't on my vision board or on my goals list, but wow, like I'm so proud of myself for achieving that. And it really gets you to think about the more positive side of goal setting, and this idea that you may have this idea in mind about what you want, but you might be offered a completely different path and a different avenue. So take the time to think about the unexpected successes and not just what you didn't achieve. So the flip of that is obviously, what unexpected challenges did I face? What things did I have to overcome that I wasn't expecting? Maybe it's a family bereavement or a breakup or a career change that you weren't expecting. You know, we were in lockdown for months and I didn't think that, you know, 2021 was going to be that kind of year, but it ended up being that kind of year. And we do forget how many months we spent in lockdown, and that was quite a tough start to the year. I think we were all just so over being locked away and we just wanted to have fun. And this time last year, this rhetoric of, okay, well, we're going to have a hot girl summer kind of stemmed and started, and then that was it. You know, the whole of last year was about hot girl summer and how we can have the best summer of our lives. And I remember going into summer 2021 and thinking, I actually haven't got many plans. Okay, am I gonna have a hot girl summer? And that expectation that it had to be this crazy, roaring, you know, amazing summer with great weather. I actually thought we didn't have very good weather. We had better weather in, you know, lockdown 1 in 2020. So it's one of those things where we have and we do come across these unexpected challenges that come out of all sorts of things. Like hot girl summer was, you know, a trend that came out of somebody's TikTok or something. It was like just one video that went viral, one comment that went viral, and then suddenly everybody had this expectation that, okay, well, they're going to have hot girl summer plans, I need to have hot girl summer plans. And actually for me it was a bit of the weather's kind of okay girl summer, and I'm trying to launch my business summer, and it wasn't really, you know, that exciting, but there were still good plans. I still made the effort to have a good summer. It just, you know, that expectation was so high that because we were in this lockdown that it was going to be this crazy party. And for some people I think it probably was, but for me it wasn't. So yeah, just kind of evaluating your year and being comparative of what you experienced. So then I want you to think about how you're going to structure your goals for the next year. Now, the past 3 years I've done this particular structure, and it's actually been so beneficial to my goal setting process and also my evaluation process. And this is why I'm kind of mentioning it in the evaluation stage, because looking back on my 2021 goals, I was able to really see, okay, in what categories did I experience the most success? What was my like high point? You know, was it my personal life? Was it my career? Was it my health and fitness? So I'm going to break down those goals and how I structure it. So the first thing that I do as part of my goals list. Now you might be thinking, okay, I need to move on to a separate piece of paper now. So get your separate piece of paper, get your document up, find a new page in your journal, and I want you to write down 2022 themes. Now underneath that is where you're going to write really vague themes of things that you want your year to kind of encompass. So I'm going to give some examples for my 2022 goals list, because I think because it's so broad, you guys can take from it what you want. I'm not being too specific and it's not overly personal, but for me, my big ones are outsource, batch create, divine timing, abundance, sit in success, and be dynamic. Now, those can be broken down into even more specific goals, but those are the things that I do want to achieve for myself. And those goals are broad because it just helps you set the tone for the goals list and what you do actually want to work on. I find having general themes, if you're overwhelmed by the specifics, just go back to the themes and you will achieve some of the smaller things in the nitty-gritty categories. So my categories for my goals list revolve around things relevant to my job and me and my personal, focuses. You might be thinking about other focuses like financial, or maybe you have children, maybe you've got other things that you're thinking about. For me, these are my categories. So break down your goals list into categories. I've got Instagram, I've got YouTube, I've got my writing as a journalist. And then I go into business, so that's more general, like my personal branding, that type of thing. My personal life, my fitness, and my travel. So that has been really, really beneficial to my goal setting and also my reflection. Last year, I was able to see that I focused a lot on my business and my photography. That took a real big, development, and that took a lot of my time last year, and I realized, okay, I ticked off a lot of things, but things in different areas of your life can be focused on, and that's a positive as well. So going back to why I recommend this style of goal setting and reflection is because you can really think about the small goals that lead to the big goal, and for each of those categories you can just break it down into smaller chunks and more achievable bite-sized things. And I just find it less overwhelming when it's all broken down. If you've got this really long list of just random things, maybe you've got a few bits of fitness and then another fitness goal further down, you're forgetting everything that you're writing down. You're not going to look at that list and feel motivated. When it's broken down into categories, you can see just how there's a couple of things you want to achieve in certain areas of your life. So for me, it's been far more positive and more beneficial to do it that way. It's also great for figuring out what you actually want. So just to kind of bring it back to the first week of January that I've experienced this year, I was very emotional, I was feeling burnt out and just overwhelmed and tired, and I felt like there was so much weight on my shoulders for this year, that I was feeling like last year, okay, I didn't achieve X, Y, and Z, and all these obligations were moving and shifting into a new year, and I felt like, I really didn't want that for myself, plus all these external things happening. So breaking down my goals really helped to see what area of my life I'm wanting to evolve and focus on this year, and it's just got me back on track. So sometimes I think about goals and I don't want to focus on things that I really, really want in my life because I don't feel like I'm worthy of them. And maybe you've felt this way before, and you're thinking, I can't put that on my vision board. That's such a big goal, or it's never going to happen to me. I'm not going to get that lucky. That is where you really need to snap out of that mindset, because you're going to be playing small on your vision board or your goals list. And I was realizing I was doing it as well, and maybe that's why I haven't achieved and attracted certain things into my life, because actually I was too scared to even put them on my vision board and believe I was worthy of them. So regardless of the goal, like if you feel like you're not worthy of something, you're setting that intention for yourself. You're literally manifesting it and sending that vibration out into the universe that, okay, I'm not worthy enough of achieving this. I don't think I'm good enough to start my own business. My artwork isn't good enough to sell at this price. Stop it. Take a step back and think about, if you had unlimited resources, if you had the focus and the time, if you had all the things in place to make this work, what would you achieve? And start there. Another thing that helps me see where I might be feeling that pull or that energetic, oh, I'm not good enough, is social media. And I know this is a little bit toxic to kind of think of it in this way, but do you ever go on social media and see someone achieve something or have something in their life and it makes you feel sad instead of happy? Sometimes that is actually you wanting that thing, and it's like a universal sign for, oh, I secretly want that in my life as well. And sometimes we see those things on social media and we think, okay, well, that means it's not going to happen for me. If you turn that around and see it as, that's a sign that it can happen for me because it's happened to this person, it's going to be a more positive experience on Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube, whatever you're watching, whatever you're consuming. If you look at someone else's success and think, thank goodness, that's a sign that I can achieve those things, rather than, a lack of being able to achieve something. That's a good way of turning things around and having a fresher perspective. Another part of goal setting and reflection that we don't really talk about enough is the fact that we need to embrace or learn how to embrace our emotions better and not sit in emotions and think it's a bad thing if we're feeling, jealousy over something, or we're not feeling good enough to achieve something. That is a telltale sign. That is literally your body responding to a thought or a belief, and it's about resetting those beliefs and getting yourself back on track. Now, for me, for a long time, I had quite a poor money mindset, and I, for some reason, just didn't believe my work was worthy of payment, and it took a long while to get my belief system in the right place. But something that really helped me actually was a book called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero, and she had a lot of great insight into where we create emotions and connect emotions to certain things like materialistic items, and a lot of it is ingrained in how we've been brought up, how we've been taught to experience and process our emotions around certain things. So for me, it took a while to just understand that I was worthy of being paid, and I'd had a few experiences with people paying me on time, and that really affected my self-worth. And actually, over the past year of just really focusing on my business, I've had a really positive turnaround. So one of my goals was monetary and was about kind of getting a better mindset around receiving money and receiving money in abundance. And because I was able to embrace that emotion and connect this idea that before I didn't feel worthy of it, because I was aware that that's how I felt, I was able to process the goal better and actually really take some time to dig deeper into it. And that's one of the things that I love about that book, because it had journal prompts, which is why I really want journal prompts in this podcast, or where possible I'm going to offer journal prompts. So my journal prompt for this week, and I really hope you guys note this down, so get yourself a pen and paper or get it in your notes in your phone. This week's journal prompt is, what did I tolerate last year that I don't want to tolerate this year? Now, have a think about that one. It could be positive, could be negative. Tolerate, I guess, is more of a negative connotation to it. But what did I tolerate last year that I don't want to tolerate this year? And see where that question takes you. There's a lot of positive things that can come out of negative experiences. So lessons, goals, things that you want to change, things that you never want to do again. Everything's a lesson at the end of the day, without sounding too cliche. But understanding that emotions can be associated with certain goals is fine too. Just being aware of them and processing them. And, when you're in a good emotion, when you've achieved something, sit in it, feel good in the now. And that's the last thing that I want to leave you with in today's episode is, please learn how to sit in the now. I'm not very good at it either, and it's something that I need to work on. But you don't have to feel like you're behind or that you need to move on to the next thing and okay, cool, you've taken that off, now move on. Sometimes it's okay to just dwell in the positives and the success that you're experiencing right now. Now, a lot of people that I've seen recently on social media, and it's why it's on the top of my head and I'm just going to use it as an example, have moved out and moved into their first place. How incredible is that of an achievement? Sit in that success, like go and sit in your empty apartment and just see what you have achieved with your mindset and your focus, your drive. Maybe you have had financial assistance, whatever your circumstances. Just be proud of yourself. Be proud of how you have got to this point, this moment in your life, because the younger you would have been hopeful of one day living in your own space. Or maybe, it's a different goal, but I'm just using that anecdotally and as an example. Be proud of yourself and just sit in it. Like, it's okay. You don't have to rush on to the next thing. Just really, really be proud of yourself because you've achieved something. And it might be something even smaller than that. It might be that you've taken the time to just sit and listen to this podcast and take some time for you. Like, be proud of yourself that you've asserted yourself and let go of distraction and focused on something for 5 minutes. Whatever the goal is, whatever you've achieved, just learn how to sit in the now. And that's something that I'm taking into 2022, to be less forceful of the next thing that I need to do and achieve, because you'll soon learn that you'll never be happy if you're chasing after the next big goal. And life would be pretty boring if we had it all handed to us on a plate. Like, I would rather go through the challenges and the lessons and the progress than to be handed everything and just have to experience life with everything that I've ever wanted in one go. So take that as a positive. So that's everything for this week's podcast. I really hope it's been beneficial and given you guys an insight into how I goal set and set intentions and reflect for the year. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a DM on Instagram at alicelucybradley, or even on Twitter. You guys can tweet me at alicelucybradley, and I will get back to you with as much advice as I possibly can. If you have any specific questions, that is, I would love to help you. And just know you guys can achieve anything you put your mind to this year. I think it's going to be a really good one for all of us. If it's not big achievements, it's going to be great life lessons, and that's great too. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back next week for another fresh episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Staying Sweet, the podcast. If you enjoyed listening, please do leave a review, and I will catch you next week for a new episode. Stay sweet.